First book YouTube video, I would just start with all 76 books I read in 2023. So I think what I'm gonna do is my Goodreads pulled up. I don't know if you can even see that, but I have it pulled up with my 2023 reading challenge. So I'm just gonna go from the beginning of the year to the end and just go over a little small review, definitely like what star ratings I gave everything. Nothing too in-depth because that would take way too long. So last year I actually started getting into reading for fun and as a hobby. So I started these books pretty much in April and just kept reading out throughout the year. I really got into watching book YouTube videos, so I figured I'll make my own. So I'm not really sure exactly how I want to do this. I have them all set up. So here's all the books I read in 2023. I have them in order of the start of the year to the end of the year. So I'm just going to go through them all pretty quickly. So to start the year off, I read Colleen Hoover's Maybe Now and Maybe Someday. Her books are really easy to get into if you wanted to start reading. They're pretty fast-paced romances. So yeah, these are the first two books I read this year. I actually didn't give them a rating on Goodreads for some reason, but I think I would give them like a 3-star each probably. They weren't too memorable. Then I read Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. I give it a 4-star rating. I honestly can't remember too much about this book either, which is going to be a very common theme. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I just read some of the back and I do remember little bits of it, so I would say I recommend this one. Then I read If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. I gave this one a 4-star as well. I highly recommend this book unless you don't want to cry, because this book made me bawl my eyes out. It's kind of like a childhood friends to lovers kind of story, but really, really sad. So would recommend. Then I read In 5 Years by Rebecca Serrell, not 100% sure. I gave this a 2-star. I didn't like her other book. I think it was The Edge of Falling or something like that. I just wasn't a huge fan of the writing style. But then I started getting into Ali Hazelwood. She's now one of my top authors, I would say. So I read The Love Hypothesis, which I gave 4 stars. She does a lot of STEM romances, which make the plot a lot more interesting because it's a lot of stuff that like I don't know much about. But yeah, I gave this one a 4-star. And then I read Love on the Brain by her as well. I give this a 4-star. I put a lot of tabs in it. So I would say I do recommend these two. They're also quick-paced romances, but with kind of a bigger plot to them just because of the STEM aspect to it. I read Layla by Colleen Hoover, which I actually give a 5-star. It is more of like a thriller kind of romance. I don't even know if it would be technically classified like that, but I remember it being like there was a big plot twist at the end and just very much a binge-worthy book. So I did give it a 5-star. I don't know if that holds true today, but still I would recommend this. And then I read Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I didn't love The Honeymooners. I don't even think I liked it at all. So I was a little bit nervous to pick this one up. It's another childhood friends to lovers, and it's just really, really wholesome book. I give it a 5-star, which I would say holds true to today. And then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney. Didn't love it. I gave it a 3-star. I just don't really love her writing. And then I read All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I gave it a 4-star. This one, very sad romance. I had watched the movie before I read this, before I picked it up. Plenty of tabs. I would recommend that you read and watch it. So I started The Summer I Turned Pretty series by Jenny Han. I apparently gave this one a 3-star. I don't know why, because I do love it. Like, I love the story, but I love the show. Books were great. Before I finished the rest of the series, I read Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I gave it a 2-star. I just don't think that this was the story that I can connect to. It's more so about like motherhood. So I picked up the rest of the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I binged these two very quickly. I have my Goodreads down here, that's why I keep looking down. I apparently also gave these a 3-star. I don't know why. I don't know if it was something about the rating, but I do love this series, so I think overall it's a 4-star series for me. But I guess I rated all the books 3 stars, but still highly recommend. It's a good one to get into in the summer. I could see myself rereading it, and the show's great, so do recommend. And then I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Everyone knows and loves this book. I didn't 100% love it. I gave it a 3-star. I just feel like everyone hyped it up so much that I think my expectations were just way too high going into this book. So then I read Never Never by Colleen Hoover and Tarryn Fisher. I gave this one a 3-star. I will say this is a binge-worthy book. And then I actually read the book Gossip Girl. I don't know why or where I found that. I actually have sold it as of now. I gave it a 3-star. My next book I read was The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I gave this one a 3-star. I remember it being very much like I need to find out what happens next. You know, it definitely kept me in the book. And then next I read Every Summer After, which I gave a 3-star. I will say it is a good romance book to read during the summertime. You know, it's obviously pretty summery. And then next I read One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I borrowed this one from a friend, so I don't have the physical copy, but I gave it a 3 stars. I remember it being very intriguing as to what the plot was. Pretty much it's just all these kids are in detention and one of them ends up dead and now they're all pretty much murder suspects, but then all this stuff comes out on like a gossip site about them all, so it's definitely very interesting. And then I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave this one a 3 stars. I did like the format of it being like an interview style. I thought that was pretty unique and I've never read a book like that. But I thought that it was pretty interesting. It's basically just following Daisy Jones and the Six. She's a singer-songwriter and joins a band. And then I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. I did like this one a lot more than Book Lovers. I give this one a 4 star. Maybe I'll reread Emily Henry this year. I am waiting on Happy Place to become a paperback because I'm very specific about them all being paperbacks and not just one hardcover. So I haven't read Happy Place yet, but maybe when I get that I'll do rereading Emily Henry. So next book I don't have the physical copy of. I actually sold the set I had. It was A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. It's pretty much an Aladdin retelling, but if Jafar had succeeded in his evil plans, pretty much. That's how like the whole series is that she wrote. Pretty much Disney retellings, but if the villain won. I thought it was gonna be much more than it was. I actually gave it like a 1.5 star. It was just, it was a chore to get through, I would say. It wasn't anything I was hoping it would be. And I picked up Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Once again, love her so much. She is a really good author. I actually gave this book a 5 star. Again, you get more of the STEM world. You get a lot of STEM politics, which is cool to read. Very quick read. I did love Jack, so I do recommend this one for sure. And then we're at Meet Me at the Lake. I actually gave this one a 4 star, but going back, I would probably take it down to a 3 star. Pretty much it just pulls some tropes that I didn't love. It was the whole like borderline cheating trope. I do love her covers though. Super cute. And then I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I gave this one a 4 star. I apparently really enjoyed it. It's pretty much a sister falls in love with the brother's best friend situation. Very sad book, as you could tell by the title. I would probably give it like a 3.75, not a 4. Her books are just super fast paced and really binge-worthy books. I also apologize if I'm not looking directly at the camera. I keep looking at the viewfinder just because I'm not used to filming myself. So sorry if anyone's annoyed by that. Next up, I read The Little Bookshop. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this. I took French, but I don't think I can. I give it a 2 star. I didn't love it. It was definitely a judge the book by the cover when I bought this because it's so cute. I could not put it down. So pretty much it's like a bookshop swap. It was cool to read and I did love the setting, but I think I just wasn't feeling attached to these characters. Next, I started the Addicted series. I haven't continued the series yet. It's definitely dealing with heavy topics, so if you are interested in picking this one up, I would check for trigger warnings because there is a lot of hard topics dealt with. But I give this one a 3-star. I think it was written very, very well. I do think I'm interested in picking up the rest of the series because it's dealing with, I think, the rest of the family, which would be interesting to read about, and just I would like to see where these characters ended up. And then next I reread Looking for Alaska by John Green. I did love this book the first time around, so I was excited to read it again. I gave it a 4 stars. It's pretty much following this kid Miles that goes to boarding school, and you're following him meeting all of these other people at the boarding school who are very different from the people who he grew up with. I did love this. Next I read People We Meet on Vacation. I think that this is my top Emily Henry book. So you're pretty much just following the main characters, Alex and Poppy, who met in college and they've been taking vacations together pretty much every summer, pretty much showing this college relationship transpired into their adult friendship relationship. Then I read The Song of Achilles. This is like my first book that wasn't romance. There is romance in it. So this one's pretty much like a historical romance mixed with Greek mythology. That's like the best way I can describe it. I don't know if that's 100% the best way to describe it, but I highly recommend. I read The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. I gave it a 3-star. I would say until about the last fourth of the book, I was not liking it. Pretty much the plot twist. And once you find out truly the timeline and what really is going on in the book, gets much better. So highly recommend. But if you are reading it and you're not liking the first little bit, stick it through. I promise it gets better. I read These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I gave it a 4-star. It was hard for me to grasp like the fantasy concepts in this book. Nothing like against the author, it's just because it was my first fantasy book. So it's pretty much like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but it has to do with like a magical monster in 1920s Shanghai. And I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I loved this book. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I gave it a 5-star. Still holds true. And then I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I gave it a 3-star. I don't, once again, 100% remember much of this plot. I do know that like she's his bodyguard and they end up falling in love. So it was a cute romance, I do remember that. I read Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. Hope that I pronounced that right. I have read this book before. I think I read it a year or 2 ago. I do really enjoy this book and I would recommend it. Check trigger warnings. I would say that more for this book than any of them. It deals with very, very heavy topics, and honestly I feel like I don't want to give it a rating. I gave it a 3-star just because it is such a heavy book. I read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I really disliked this book. I gave it a 2-star. I'd maybe give it a little bit less. It's just a very strange book. I don't really know what else to say about it. And then I read The Makeup Test by Jenny L. Howe. I gave it a 3-star. It was cutesy romance. I read The Most Likely Club by Alyssa Freiblum. I gave it a 3-star. After I read The Most Likely Club, I binged every single book in this series in order with like the novellas and everything. This series is so good. I know I'm late to the game. I think it was popular like 3 years ago. But like I said, I just started reading in April, so I hadn't heard about it until now. And I'm so sad I didn't know about it sooner, but still happy I ended up reading it. It's pretty much a dystopian romance, but I feel like it's kind of a fantasy because she has like kind of powers, you know, so a lot of different things I would classify this series as. Highly, highly recommend it. I think I would give the whole series a 5-star. And then I read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I give this one a 4-star. I think I would give it a 4.5. It deals with magical realism, which was a new concept for me, and I loved that about this book. You're pretty much following her, which is, she's 7 years in his future, and he's 7 years in her future. And you're just following their romance. And I also felt like it had a heavier plot than most romance books do, because you're also dealing with her grief and just them both going through career struggles, and this book is just so good, and if you have not read it, please go buy it. So then I read Maybe Meant to Be by K.L. Walther. I gave it a 3 stars. I didn't love it. It was just a quick read. That was pretty much all there was to it. It didn't do much for me. And then I started the Inheritance Games trilogy. I gave this one 4 stars. The whole series is so intriguing. I just realized I said it was a trilogy. There is a 4th book out that I do not have yet because of the same. I only have paperbacks and it's only in a hardcover. So we're gonna get to that. So the whole series, you're pretty much following this girl who has no relation to the Hawthorns, but she inherits pretty much the entire fortune of the family. So every book, which I'm assuming might be the same for the 4th, but at least the first 3, you're following them, solving clues to why she might have gotten the inheritance and they didn't. And then before I continued the rest of the series, I read my favorite book of the year, Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book ripped my heart out, especially because it ends on a cliffhanger since the new book just came out. You're pretty much following Roman and Iris. They're workplace rivals. There's also like fantasy aspects to it. I don't want to give too much away because I went into this pretty much completely blind as to what the plot was going to be, and I could have not asked for anything more. I would highly recommend looking up on Spotify like a playlist to go along with it while you read, because it just changed the whole experience for me. And then here's all my tabs. So I love Roman so much, so please, if you have not read this book, go read it. Next book I read was My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This one just fell flat for me. I gave it a 2 star. I love the cover though. Next I read The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I gave this a 3 star. I'm really curious how the rest of the series is gonna go. Like, I do want to keep reading it. It's just really hard to get into because it is, I would say for me, it's pretty high fantasy. It's just hard to grasp the world. I do love the world though. Then I finished the 2nd and 3rd of the Inheritance Games first little trilogy. Once again, there is a 4th, but I don't have it yet. So I'm just going off the first 3. So the 2nd one I gave 4 stars, and the 3rd one I gave a 3 star. There's just more puzzles about why she inherited the inheritance and why the brothers didn't. So I do love the characters, once again, love the setting, love the plot. So I am excited to read the 4th one when it becomes a paperback. And then I read Ali Hazelwood's newest release, Check and Mate. This one I gave a 3 star. She has really good writing. I did love reading this book, but I agree with a lot of people when they say this should not be classified as a young adult book, just because some of the scenes that are in this and what is talked about. I don't think this should be marketed towards the age it is. This was her first young adult book, so I could see how she might have blurred the lines of an adult romance book and a young adult romance book, but it was still entertaining. It was about chess. Next I read Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I gave it a 4 star. I loved the romance in this and just very interesting plots because they're all about billionaires. This is the first in the Lakefront Billionaires series. This one just recently came out and I love the cover so much. It's so cute. But pretty much it's about Julian and Dahlia, and they were childhood friends, rivals, that something happened that you don't know about in the beginning that kind of made them stop talking, but then they're forced back together because of their families and just all that kind of stuff. She writes very big romance books, but they fly by so quickly. Then I read Tell Me 3 Things by Julie Buxbaum, I think is how you pronounce that. This one was a really, really sweet, cute young adult romance. Pretty much you're following the main character who is messaging someone that she doesn't know, but they know who she is at her school. So she's getting to know this anonymous person very well, but then she's going through the struggles of being a new kid at this new school she's at. And I gave it a 3 stars. Would recommend. So next I actually binged the entire Natural series. My friend is currently borrowing the box set I have, so I don't have the physical copies right now. Highly recommend that series. It's also by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. She writes such intriguing plots and really good like romance subplots that you just want to keep reading. Like, I binged the entire series within like 2 or 3 days. So Highly recommend. A lot of people compare it to Criminal Minds, which I agree with. It's pretty much like the young adult version of Criminal Minds. I gave the first one 4 stars, the second one 3 stars, the third one I gave 4 stars, and the fourth one I gave 3 stars. And then I read The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I did get this really pretty edition from Barnes & Noble. Also, super, super cute book. I give it a 3.75. She writes such cute young adult romance books. I think I will pretty much always pick up her books. They're very, very lighthearted and just a binge-worthy book. So, and then I picked up The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, the same author as The 7-Year Slip. I gave this one a 3.5. It handles magical realism so well, and I love how like she doesn't take the time to try to get you to understand why this is. It's pretty much just like, hey, like, she can see dead people, deal with it. I think it's a really cool concept, like how the romance was in this book. She's actually a ghostwriter for an author, which is just kind of funny with this plot. But then her father passes away and she has to go home, and kind of a bunch of family dramas brought up and romance stuff. It's just a very, very good book. I think I will also always be buying Ashley Poston's books. And then I read The Christmas Clash by Suzanne Park. I give this a 2 stars, maybe 2.5. It was, I think, too cheesy for me. I will say very good Christmas vibes though. Super cute cover too. Next up, I read Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I gave this one a 4 stars. Honestly, going back, I'd probably give it a 4.5 stars. It's pretty much how the Queen of Hearts became to be the Queen of Hearts, at least like her version of it. And I think she wrote it so well, and it was so like magical, and honestly, I feel like I could see myself rereading this at some point in this year or maybe next year. I read another one of Lauren Asher's books. I started the Dreamland Billionaire series. This one's following Rowan and Zara. You're pretty much following these 3 brothers and what they have to do to get their inheritance, as their grandfather just passed away. I give this one a 4 stars. Once again, she writes romance very well. It goes by very quickly for it being like 500, 400 pages. And I loved that it's like this version of Disney pretty much, so that was really cool to read. Then I read With Love from Cold World by Alicia Thompson. I gave this one a 4 stars. I was not expecting to like this book this much. And it was another judge a book by its cover. It's so cute. I read What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walther. I give this one 3 stars. I don't love her books. I don't think I like her writing style that much. Alright, and then I read the entire Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I got these for Christmas and immediately binged them. I gave the first one 4 stars and the second and third 5 stars. So I definitely recommend this series. It's very much fantasy romance. You're following Evangeline, who is making a deal with the Fate Jacks. Definitely a 5-star series for me. So yeah. And then the last book I read of the year was Ruthless Vows, which is the second book in the Divine Rivals duology. I think it's the Letters of Enchantment duology. I don't want to say anything about the plot because everything would be a spoiler, but you're just following what happens at the end of Divine Rivals. And once again, Roman and Iris's love story, straight to the heart, just killed me. And I still don't know what to think. Like, it was a 5-star book. Honestly, both books are 6 stars at this point. I loved them so much, and if you have not read them, please go read them. These are my top 2 books of the year, 100%. They're such well-written books, and she just hits every aspect so well. The only thing I would say anything negative about this book is I wish we got more like emotion from Iris. I felt like she was lacking what she should have been giving out. I don't want to say anything spoiler, so I feel like that's all I could say bad about this book. I have nothing bad to say about Divine Rivals whatsoever. So out of all 76 books, please read these 2 if you have not. I don't know, they're so good. But So that is all 76 books I read this year. And my new goal for this year is 75. I set a goal for 25 in 2023 just because I'd started in April and I didn't know if it was going to be an ongoing hobby or if it was going to just come and go or what, but it obviously stuck. And now it's pretty much my entire personality. It's pretty much what all of my money goes towards and what all of my conversations with my friends are. But I also want to go over some of the books I'm really excited to read in 2024. Pretty much, so my cart right here. This is my TBR cart. So pretty much the bottom row is books to reread. And then these are my new books I've bought in. Pretty much the whole thing is my TBR. And pretty much all of it's what I'm excited to read this year. But I'm still gonna share. I'm also excited to start reading the Throne of Glass series. I think I'm going to make a read with me of the series with spoilers. So there's a potential that that video is gonna be a thing, so we'll see. So I'm really excited to read that. And then I have like Lightlark, Dance of Thieves, the Caraval trilogy, because the Caraval trilogy is in the same world as the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. And I loved it so much, so I feel like I'm gonna like this. So I'm excited to read those. And then I have the Six of Crows duology on here. I have not read Fourth Wing yet, so I definitely want to read that soon. I think I might read that next, so we'll see what happens. But I also want to read Our Violent Ends, which is after, what's it called? These Violent Delights. So I'm excited to read that. But I have a lot of fantasy books I'm really interested in reading this upcoming year, so we'll see what happens. But I really hope you guys enjoyed my first book video. I know a lot of my friends and family have been really wanting me to make YouTube videos for books just because I am pretty passionate about it. So I really hope this lived up to expectations. I'm really excited to keep making book-related videos. So let me know what you might want to see. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully in another video.